The Volunteer Doula Program in Halifax started in 1996, and they've trained hundreds of doulas and supported thousands of families in providing free doula support to families in need. And last year, after a conversation with the coordinator here in Halifax, Leah, we just discovered that we had a lot of families that weren't able to access doula care, mostly due to financial reasons or lack of awareness. So we just thought it would be a great opportunity to partner together and expand. My name is Tapley, and I am a full spectrum doula, and this is the Chebucto Family Center.
Communities for Gender Equality holds space for community foundations coast to coast to coast to come together, learn, and move forward towards gender equality in their organization and in their communities.
The Community Foundation of Nova Scotia was founded 14 years ago, and the organization today has a reach right across the province. About 65% of our granting is outside the urban area of Halifax and reaches communities small and large right around the province. We recently took on some work to consider what we do and how we do it, and came up with a new purpose, and that purpose is to inspire giving and steward funds that help build communities of respect, belonging, and possibility around Nova Scotia. My name is Danial Holland. I'm the CEO at the Community Foundation of Nova Scotia.
Communities for Gender Equality supports long-term systemic change in 4 main settings, including personal, governance, institutional, and community. My name is Kelly Squier. I'm the Manager of Strategic Initiatives for the Community Foundations of Canada, and I oversee our Communities for Gender Equality program.
So in our community, and I do live in Cape Breton, we have no midwives, and then there's only one hospital where people can deliver. So we really want to prioritize providing care to the communities that need it the most, and also ensuring, they have access to some childbirth education. They have that continuous support throughout their experience, which they wouldn't have without a doula. We really hope to increase the number of doulas that we have. So we currently have 11, and we'd like to double that by the end of this year. And we would really like to focus our efforts on diversifying the doulas that we have available to our community. So specifically getting more Black doulas, more Indigenous doulas, and just people of the global majority to really increase that representation within their healthcare team, and also just, to be able to support diverse families.
The Community Foundation of Nova Scotia, its name says it, is a provincial entity in the community foundation movement. And so I think the first part of that is that it means different things in different communities. The great part for us, having participated in both the first cohort and now the second cohort of Communities for Gender Equality, is to both hear from and begin to develop relationships with organizations right across our province. We have lots of rural communities and then some in urban areas, not just in the greater Halifax area, but other smaller cities in the province, where in all of those areas, there are organizations doing great work to break down barriers for women, for girls, gender diverse, two-spirit peoples, and this program really enabled us to begin to create some new relationships. We're a relatively young community foundation at only 14 years old, and so a really big part of us being able to have greater impact is developing those relationships with organizations that are doing the good work. I always like to say that our job at a community foundation is to connect donors and funders of different kinds, in this case being a partner with CFC at a national level, and being that local intermediary funding agent participant with feet and people and relationships on the ground. We're connecting that donor with the doers in each of those communities. And so through cohort 1 and now cohort 2, we've gotten to know some really different organizations that are in their own way working on breaking down those barriers in their own communities.
The third cohort of recipients of the fund include 125 resilient women, girls, two-spirit, and gender diverse-led and serving organizations.
I would say prior to the program, we only had 3 doulas on the island entirely, and none of them were working for free. So there was just no access at all. Some people would choose to go to Antigonish, but of course, when we look at things like poverty, that becomes a really big issue. If you don't have sick leave from your job or you don't have a car, that's not really accessible to you. So there's not really a lot of options.
Community Foundation of Nova Scotia is small and growing in terms of its reach and impact across the province. We have just over 120 fund holders today, and so we were already granting, I'd say, to a few hundred different organizations in different parts of the province. Having said that, since the pandemic hit, there have been a few different kinds of funding programs that we've been able to sign up for, and yet our bandwidth is limited in terms of what we can do and what we can take on. And I can say without question that when the Communities for Gender Equality opportunity came along for us as a team, for our board to consider, is this something we want to sign up for? In spite of the fact that there are a variety of other programs we could have done or granting initiatives we could have gotten involved with, and sometimes do, which can be a lot for a small team, this one was an easy yes. And I think that that speaks to the belief and the understanding of the impact that this can have in communities right across Nova Scotia. It was important for the board to take on some of the work ourselves. It was time for us to consider some of our internal ways of working and what we were doing, so that support as well as that challenge for us to think internally as well as what it would mean for different grantee organizations was really important.
Where I live, it's a fairly diverse community, but also a little bit rural, which is interesting. And this project is really intended to support all birthing people, women, non-binary, and trans folks. And we focus on ensuring that our doulas are really trained to be inclusive and recognize the diversity that can be present in our families. And because we know that pregnancy and birth and the postpartum period are really intense times, but also really transformative times in someone's life, and that it has an impact on those families forever. So we really hope that by providing the emotional and the physical support to these families, that we can just help ensure a more positive beginning to their parenthood journey. So the improved outcomes for people that have a doula, there have been some small studies that have been done that have shown that there is a less of a chance of having a cesarean birth, less of a need for pharmaceutical pain relief, and in general, a more positive perception of their birth experience. I think that it's really helpful to not only have that representation with them in a very intense and transformative period in their life, but also to kind of bring aspects of their culture, their medicine, their spiritual practices into their birth experience to just make it feel a little bit more in tune with their life and their expectations. Well, so far, and it's relatively new, we have supported some families that are new to our country and our community, and for them, they really appreciated having the continuity of care. So we met with them before and then during and after, and it just helped them feel safe and comfortable in a place where everyone's speaking a language that isn't theirs. They might have no family here with them. So they've all been very appreciative and very grateful to have our support. And one of our current families have said that when they're done with their pregnancy, they'd like to become a volunteer for other newcomers. Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
And so that's who we are, still growing, still learning our impact possibility, and working at that every day.
Hosted by local community foundations and funded with the support from the Government of Canada, the fund builds on efforts to shift power to women, girls, two-spirit, and gender-diverse people who work towards a future grounded in justice and gender equality.